This conference will now be recorded.
All right. So in last video or last session, we have discussed Hadoop daemons, right? Function of name node, function of secondary name node, and function of data node, job tracker, task tracker, right? Then resource manager, node manager. So function of name node, we have already discussed. It directs all the data nodes to slave nodes to execute low-level operations, input-output operations. Second one is it also records metadata, data about data. So we have already discussed on that. And the name node will regularly receive a heartbeat from data node and send heartbeat to data node. So there will always be communication between name node and data node. Similarly, we also discussed function of data node. Data node is mainly to perform low-level read and write operations. So they regularly keep sending reports about the blocks. We know what is a block, right? The piece of data from a file, right? In the cluster to the name node. So that means the data node will send regularly about the block status to name node, right? So these are the HDFS storage daemons: name node, data node, secondary name node. Name node contains metadata. That metadata contains in two files. One is fs image, another one edits. These two are the predefined files, will be created automatically when you start running your cluster. So fs image is mainly to maintain a metadata of the file system. Edits is to have transactions information or modifications information. That means read, write, delete informations in edits. So there is a secondary name node which will contain metadata, that is fs image edits, same as the name node. So data node actual workhorse, the actual engine where you see computations happening against your data, right? So these are the HDFS daemons. So this is how HDFS architecture will look like. Name node contains metadata, then data nodes. In each data node will be having a blocks information. Then you have a secondary name node. If you clearly observe this, only name node is talking to data nodes. Data nodes are talking to name node. But secondary name node is talking to name node is talking to secondary name node. Secondary name node will never talk to data nodes, remember that. So we also, yeah, so far any doubts? So far any doubts? No doubts, right?
No doubt.
Okay, so I hope you are all going through videos which are getting uploaded, right? So every day at least once or twice need to play those videos and make a note of them. So unless you take, you put pen and paper, so you'll not be able to learn, not be able to transform. So remember, whenever you are learning any course, you should be, transformed yourself. For example, you are coming from X background, you are learning big data analytics or data science. So you need to transform yourself into completely data science and big data analytics. That happens when you put the daily effort. Okay. See, first 10-15 days, it looks like difficult, but once you put reasonable effort to understand, to learn this, after 15 days, it is very, very easy. Let me tell you. Okay. All right. So here we have a file, 320 MB, that is divided into multiple blocks. Now we know what is a block, and block is configured with some definite size, 128 MB, 520, whatever it may be the size. Okay, there are default sizes also. In Hadoop 1.x version, 64 MB default size. Hadoop 2.x version, 128 MB. And these blocks will be distributed to these data nodes when you load this file to cluster. So that will be taken care by name node, you know that. And one data node here, one block, another data node, another block, another data node, another block, because there are 3 data nodes, 3 blocks, that's all. Now we also understood how to overcome failure of data node. So by introducing concept called replication, that we have already discussed, block replication 2. So each block repeated twice. Here in 3 data nodes, 10 blocks. If you repeat 5 blocks 2 times. So those 10 blocks are distributed to 3 data nodes and run algorithm against those blocks. If one data node fails, you still have data in other data nodes. It will go there and process the data, generate the results, and show to user. In case 2 data nodes are failed, then we discussed block replication. Increase the block replication by 3 times or 4 times, 5 times, depends on your choice. So these are the 5 blocks, each one repeated 3 times. 4 here, 4 here, 3 here, 4 here. If one fails, you still have data in 2 data nodes. If second one also fails, you still have data in another one. If 3 also fails, then go for racking mechanism.
Srini, here a small doubt.
Yeah.
So replica is repeated. Along with the replica, even data also shared to the another data node, right?
Yes, data also shared. Physically, data will be shared.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Naga, any doubts?
Sorry, sir, I was on mute. I'm clear, Srini.
Clear? Radhakrishna.
One more question. So, okay, here I have a multiple replica and data also shared to multiple
your voice is
data
breaking.
nodes. Okay,
Maybe
now?
signal, I guess.
Now it's breaking, sir.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Raju.
Yeah, see, replica is a multiple replica is stored into the multiple data nodes. Suppose no failure. In this case, all going to be what do you say? A program going to be execute. The result will show only one result to the user, right?
Only one copy. It will execute only on one copy. Other 2 copies just a backup.
Okay, thank you. All right.
See, the replication of another copy will come into picture whenever one copy is not available. Let's say there are 3 copies. The second copy used when first copy is not available. Third copy is used when second copy is not available. Like that. If first copy is available, then it doesn't go to second and third copies, third blocks. It will process from first block only. So those are just idle. Just sit on the system. Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
So this is a rack awareness. We have already discussed, introduced racking mechanism. So whenever you are seeing a more frequent failures for data nodes, though you have increased the replication factor, then go for racking, rack 1, rack 2. So where if rack 1 fails, you can also go for rack 2. If rack 2 fails, you can go for rack 1. The failure of 2 racks at a time or 3 racks at a time or multiple racks at a time is very rare. But failure of data nodes in one rack may happen more frequently. So that is the reason you go for multiple racks. So this is HDFS architecture. So here we have a name node, metadata, name node contains metadata. Then these are the data nodes. We understood what is replica. We know who is a client. We know what is read, what is write, what is rack, what is rack 1, rack 2, right? So these are all, now we are more familiar. The entire, we will be asked in interviews, explain about HDFS architecture. Then you should start like this. In HDFS architecture, we have a name node, we have a data nodes. Name nodes are connected to data nodes are connected to name nodes. There will be heartbeat keep happening for every 3 seconds. Then whenever application data is stored, the data will be divided into multiple blocks and distributed to multiple data nodes. And when application is submitted, that will be divided into multiple tasks. Then tasks will be delegated or distributed to multiple data nodes wherever blocks are stored or distributed, and run those application tasks against blocks, generate the results, combine the results, and show to the user. This is how you should start explaining. So here you should also explain name node contains a metadata where you will be having a complete information about your cluster, about your directories, files, blocks, replication, operations, everything is maintained in name node. The actual data is stored in data nodes. So we can also have data nodes created in different racks, rack 1, rack 2, rack 3. So you should keep on explaining like this. So based on this explanation only, they'll try to ask other questions, remember. But it's very easy once you take this session multiple times. When you run this video multiple times, you'll be able to understand. So also go through material. Okay, fine. Here we also discussed a heartbeat replication. Now what is balancing? Once again, I repeat, yesterday we discussed and stopped here. Balancing is like this. Here we have blocks, 3 copies in multiple data nodes, data node 1, data node 2, data node 3, data node 4, data node 5. This data node, we have a blocks, predefined blocks. Assume that we are running a application data node 1 and this block is unavailable. No issues. We still have 2 blocks available. Then it will move on to second block and run. If this also fails, no issues. We have third block. If this also fails, unfortunately, there are no more blocks. If that is the situation, we have a concept called balancing. How is that works? Let's see. Whenever this fails, the task will move on to next available block, and before it executes on this block, it will create another copy of this and put it in another data node so that it will maintain 3 copies. It will always try to maintain 3 copies because when you say replication is 3, at the time of I told you replication factor is configurable. At the time of configuration, if you say replication is 3, it will try to maintain 3 copies. Right? That is called balancing. So in this scenario, you don't need to increase replication factor to n number of times. So that will reduce the metadata size. So now we are clear about heartbeat, we are clear about balancing, we are clear about replication. Am I clear? Any questions here? Just give me a minute. Yeah. So we handled a failure of data node. Fine. What if name node fails? If primary name node fails. So remember, whenever name node fails, there is no alternate mission to start automatically the entire cluster. You will have to stop the cluster. Then, whenever there is a problem in the name node, need to remove that name node, identify the problem, fix the problem, and start the cluster. When you start cluster, you should be able to restart your cluster, restart your operations from where you left before failure. For which it requires metadata, because metadata contains the information about the operations, right? We know that FS image and edits, 2 files. So what will happen here between name node and secondary name node? Let's see. Primary name node contains edits and FS image, right? These 2 files, that is what we discussed. At the time of running cluster, what will happen internally? This edits and FS image, those 2 files will be copied to secondary name node. Okay. After that, these 2 files will be merged into one copy that will be named as FS image again. After merging secondary name node, that will be copied back to primary name. That will be copied back to primary name node. That file name called as fsimage.checkpoint. Then after copying this FS image, merged FS image into primary name node, it will be renamed to FS image again. At the same time, edits will be renamed to edits.new, then again rename back to edits. So finally, again, you end up with edits and FS image. Again, these 2 will be copied to secondary name node and merge to FS image, then copy back. So this will keep happening internally continuously at the time of running cluster. At any point of time, primary name node will contain latest metadata information. Got it, right? So what is happening here is the primary name node, secondary name node, primary name node edits and FS image. These 2 will be copied to secondary name node, where you will be having edits and FS image merged to FS image. See, this will happen automatically. We don't need to do anything. We are just discussing internally what is happening with the metadata. This FS image will be copied to primary name node with FS image checkpoint. After that, again, that will be renamed to FS image. Then edits will be rolled to edits.new, and that will be back to again edits. So finally, again, these 2 will be copied to secondary name node and merged, again copy back to FS image checkpoint, then rename. So this will keep happening continuously at the time of running cluster. So primary name node and secondary name node will always maintain latest metadata information. At any point of time, any failure identified in edits logs and FS images. So I give you 1 minute, just revise it and let me know doubts. Okay. So this is the metadata we discussed. As I told you, FS image and edit log. See, look at this one. Your HDFS state is stored in FS image, like renaming file, deleting, permission change. Till last checkpoint will be stored in the edit log. That means till last failure. So whenever you are continuously doing these activities, so imagine you are dealing with a huge amount of data, and you are keep on continuously doing these activities. There is a chance of having more and more transactions in edit log that becomes too large, right? If that is the case, what happens here? Both edit log and FS image will be merged into one and start again from fresh edit log, so that this edit log will not be too large, will not encounter any space issue problem, right? A space issue. Clear? So this is what I'm trying to explain, because the merging of FS image and edit log is to avoid having more and more information in edit log. To understand simple, right? So this we have already discussed just now. So you can go through that theoretical concepts. So now, finally, we have almost understood HDFS, right? Storage. This is where we started, storage layer. We are discussing Hadoop components, in which storage layer, HDFS, Hadoop distributed file system layer, where we have a name node, secondary name node, data node. Now we are clear about what is name node, what is data node, what is secondary name node, what are the functions of them. So all these things put together is called HDFS daemons. Now slowly we have to move on to MapReduce, computation layer. So what is a MapReduce here? The MapReduce is one kind of program which contains some algorithm. It is completely written with the Java, but we don't need to learn Java. We don't write with the Java. We have a highly advanced computation called Spark when compared to MapReduce. In 2012, 13, 14, 15, before Spark introduced, the MapReduce was the computation engine. Most of the companies were using MapReduce. When Spark introduced by Databricks company, and Spark is 100 times faster than MapReduce in the computation. So that is the reason most of the companies started using a Spark framework for computations. Computation means the actual programming, arithmetic operations are being performed over there against your data. Against your data, right? So in Spark framework, we don't require Java. You can go for Scala language, Python language, even Java language also, but we don't prefer Java. Most popular language with Spark is Scala and Python now. Nowadays, Python is growing exponentially. In storage layer, we understood name node, date node, secondary name node, but in computation layer also we have daemons like job tracker and resource manager, Task Tracker or Node Manager. In Hadoop 1.x version, we called as a Job Tracker, Task Tracker. In Hadoop 2.x version, Resource Manager, Node Manager. These two are part of ARN, YARN. Yet another resource negotiator. Don't worry about that now. We'll be discussing in detail. But all MapReduce programs will run in JVM, Java Virtual Machine. It is a runtime environment where you execute all Java programs. It is a execution environment, program execution environment, where you run all your applications, MapReduce applications. I just have to tell one important thing here. So I told you Databricks, right? Databricks founders are these guys. Ali, Anastasia, Reynald, Jaharia. These are the guys of founders of Databricks. Now Databricks employs as a 2,000 people. Look at this. Interesting thing is funding part. In 2013, Databricks started with $13.9 million from this investor. Okay. Then after that, 2019, how much is investment? $1.9 billion. Before it was like 2014, 15, 16, 17. Every year they were making investment double. 1.9 billion funding. See, within 6 years. Here 13.9 million, but here $1.9 billion. Then 2021, February, that means recent. How much? $28 billion. Imagine the growth of the company. Here they have given clearly. So look at this one. 13 this much, 14 this much. See, every year it is getting double, right? As I told you. Still it is going to grow. This Databricks company having tie-up with Microsoft now, very strong tie-up, with Amazon, with IBM, with Google also. Okay. So what I'm trying to convey to is Databricks are the major promoters of analytics and artificial intelligence and data science. Almost every client, every project is with the Databricks company. So that is the reason this company is growing exponentially, and it is creating a lot of job opportunities. Lot of job opportunities. They keep conducting summits. You can go through YouTube, or you can register in Databricks. You keep getting mails about analytics and about artificial intelligence, the future of that, how the technologies are going to be changing. As many CEOs are saying, 75% of the existing employees will have to be reskilled. That means that whatever the technology we are working today, we don't work with the same technologies tomorrow. So you will have to be reskilled, if not today, tomorrow. Okay, that is a very, very important thing we need to understand. So now we understood the Databricks, understood the importance of analytics now. Right. Hadoop computation engine. The first master engine is Job Tracker. What is Job Tracker here? It is a communication between your application and Hadoop. That means, so you saw Hadoop cluster, right? Hadoop cluster contains name node and multiple data nodes and secondary name node. Whenever we submit application, there will be a job tracker configured within a cluster. I told you, whenever you say I configured cluster, there should be 5 daemons keep running. Then only we can say cluster is configured successfully, right? So like primary name node, secondary name node, job tracker, task tracker, these 5 daemons should keep running, up and running in your machine. Then only we can say Hadoop is configured successfully. So whenever we submit application, there will be a job tracker which is configured in name node. This job tracker is configured in name node. We will be configuring all these daemons practically. Whatever we discussed here theoretically, we'll be discussing practically. Don't worry now. So whenever we submit application, immediately job tracker will receive that application. First, it will go to job tracker. Then divide that application to multiple tasks. Distribute that to multiple data nodes by reading metadata. So here we have discussed a name node, right? So this job tracker is configured on name node. Whenever we submit application, user submit application, first job tracker will receive that and goes to name node, read the metadata and divide that application into multiple tasks. Those tasks will be distributed to different task trackers. Task tracker 1, task tracker 2, task tracker 3, task tracker 4. Multiple task trackers. So that is the reason we say here, job tracker is the communication between your application and Hadoop. Hadoop means here cluster. Between your application and cluster. When you submit your code to cluster, the job tracker determines the execution plan by determining which files to process. Job tracker determines the exact execution plan by going through metadata. So because metadata contains entire cluster information, it will go and read that metadata and determine the execution plan, how the task has to be executed against the data. As I told you, job tracker will assign all the tasks to task trackers and monitor whenever they are running, monitor their tasks. That means another responsibility of job tracker is monitoring all task trackers which are running. In case if any task tracker fails, job tracker will identify how. Here we also discussed name node will communicate with data node will communicate with the name node. Heartbeat, right? Similarly, job tracker will communicate with the task tracker will communicate with the job tracker. So whenever any task tracker fail to communicate with the job tracker will understand that the task tracker, so-and-so task tracker is failed and need to assign the particular task to another task tracker, whichever is available, and complete the task. It doesn't wait for this task to be repaired and start running. Remember that. The immediate after identifying that task tracker is failed, it will move on to another task tracker. Assign the task to another task tracker. So when a task fails, the job tracker will automatically relaunch the task, possibly on a different node. after attempting predefined limit of retries. It will try to reattempt the failure task tracker. Still, if it doesn't respond, then move on to another task tracker. So this number of trials can be predefined. We can define how many times it has to wait, how many times it has to trigger a task tracker. Another important thing is there can be only one job tracker for one cluster. We cannot configure multiple job trackers, but you can have n number of task trackers. You can have n number of task trackers. So where job tracker runs? Job tracker runs on master node, name node in a cluster. That's the part of the name node again. So job tracker is the master overseeing the overall execution of MapReduce job. That's a very, very important. So these are the main functions of job tracker. The first one is it is a communication between your application and Hadoop. Whenever you submit a code to a cluster, job tracker will determine which execution plan to process which file. Then it will assign a task to task trackers and monitors all the task trackers while they are running. Whenever any task is failed, that means task tracker is failed, the job tracker will automatically relaunch the same task to another task tracker when after trying a predefined limit of retries. After hitting a predefined limit of retries. So there can be only one job tracker for one cluster. It will run on master node. Master node means name node in a cluster. Job tracker responsibility is to oversee the overall execution of all MapReduce programs. Clear? Now we understood job tracker also. What is job tracker? I'll just give you 1 minute, just go through it so that you will be on same page. Right? Syed, any doubt?
No, sir.
Good, good. You are clear, right?
Yeah, clear.
Are you able to play videos?
Yeah, sir, I'm going through videos on daily basis.
Nazrat
No.
Ali.
No, I'm going through videos every day.
Oh, very
Saying
good. That's excellent.
that.
How is Nazrat?
Yeah, sir, he's fine. We
He is
met
very
yesterday
little now.
only.
I think he is aiming for 16 lakhs. He just started like you, fresher. I think
Yeah.
2 years back. 2 years back. Before pandemic only he started.
Yeah.
Then immediately he got job. He's a very good student. Nice. Okay. Task tracker. Task trackers manage the execution of individual tasks on each slave node. Each task tracker is responsible for executing the individual tasks that the job tracker assigns. Here, you can have multiple task trackers based on number of data nodes. Job tracker sits in name node. Task tracker sits in data node. So here, task tracker will constantly communicate with the job tracker. As I told you, as name node communicates with the data node communicates with the name node. Job tracker will communicate with the task tracker. Task tracker also will communicate with the job tracker. If the job tracker fails to receive a heartbeat from any task tracker within a specified amount of time, that can be anything, seconds, nanoseconds, or minutes, whatever it may be, it will assume that task tracker has crashed. That means that particular task tracker is failed and will try to resubmit the corresponding tasks to other nodes in the cluster. But how does the job tracker know that this particular task tracker is failed and relaunch the task in other data nodes? That information is based on metadata stored in name node. So job tracker is also configured in name node. Job tracker can go and talk to metadata, read metadata, understand which task tracker is failed on which block and where that block is available on other data nodes. Accordingly, it will trigger other task trackers to perform your activity. See how intelligent system it is. See, Hadoop is complex in terms of system programming, not from application programming point of view, not from our point of view. From our point of view, Hadoop is very easy, very simple, basic level programming. But internally, there are a lot of things are happening. See, let me tell you one more important thing. In analytics environment, a lot of code, 99% of the code is available in Google itself. You can prepare any application by searching in the Google. But to be able to search it, we need to understand these terminologies and technologies. For every solution of your client can be searched in Google and implemented directly, that particular code. So you should not be worrying about performing your job. That's very easy. Because you go through Google and you can understand that Google code and take that Google code, implement in your projects. There are many GitHub repositories. Already code has been built for a different variety of problems. So based on your problem, you can select a particular code and understand that code, customize the code as per your requirement and use it in your project. That much easy it is. You don't need to struggle much. Right? So as I have already explained you, it decides what task should be given to which worker node. And this process is called task scheduling. It's also inbuilt functionality. Task scheduling. It is also responsible for monitoring and health of all worker nodes. As I told you, job tracker responsibilities, rescheduling, task scheduling, and also monitoring worker nodes. Multi-node cluster. Multi-node cluster means, yeah.
So how the application going to be divided into multiple task tracker? The application is program?
Tasks, multiple logical tasks.
Okay. Mhm.
Multiple logical tasks.
Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions here? Naga, you are clear, right?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
No
So
problem.
mostly I think, yeah, from today onwards, I need to focus more.
Yeah.
These videos.
You need to focus more and more. See, whenever you are attending class, I'll tell you a simple technique. Take pen and paper. And whatever you see on the PPT, you write or keep writing, keep going.
Mm.
Whatever it may be, whether you understood or understand, I don't understand. You keep writing so that it will be recorded in your mind. You find interest. But if you just
Sure.
keep listening to me, unless
Mm.
you have a strong burning desire to get transformed into analytics, you'll not be able to focus. First
Okay.
thing you should know that yes, I want to become a data scientist, or I want to get into data analytics world. If you decide very strongly, then then only you'll be able to get into it. So
Sure, sir.
my advice is, whenever you are attending class or even playing a video, you take a pen and paper. Without pen and paper, don't even open this. So keep
Mm.
writing whatever you observe, whatever you see here. Keep writing. If you see HDFS, you write that HDFS. If you see client, write that client. See name node, write
Mm.
that name, like that. So that
Sure.
after 10 years you see the magic. Definitely you will be
Mm.
more familiar to this, and you will find a lot of interest to go through next classes. So you'll be motivated yourself to attend next classes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
And one more point is, after 10 days, if you want to come back and review the big data, we don't have to really go through all the videos. So we'll be
you're
having,
100%
yeah.
right. You're 100%
Yes, sir.
right. Just go through the material. You'll be able
Sure,
to
sir.
crack any interview. Yeah. So once you start writing, reading and writing, at any moment it will trigger you in the, at the time of interview.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Because I
Thanks, sir.
did follow all these things, sir. I still follow. I still follow. I still follow that. The learning should be like that. Then only it will be more effective.
Yes,
Just
sir.
be with me for 3 to 4 months. You'll be well settled in excellent organization. What do you say, Raju?
Correct.
Mm,
You are right.
yeah. So multi-node. See, the people who already learned 2 years, 3 years back, almost except just 2 or 3 people who dropped in the middle because of their personal reasons. Everybody got settled. Everybody, got titles of big data engineer, analytics engineer, junior data scientist, data architect. Almost all the people. Even I surprised whenever they have a problem in the organization, they keep coming back to me saying that this is the task is given, so how to do that and all. Then only I came to know that, oh, these are the people got placed. Okay. So here multi-node cluster where we have a client, name node, job tracker. So name node, data node, and task trackers, job tracker, task trackers, right? This is how the multi-node cluster looks like internally, right? So we have already discussed what is name node, what is secondary name node. Just for your reading, I gave these points. See, should a name node fail, HDFS would not be able to locate any of the data sets distributed throughout the data nodes, right? Because the name node is the main one. If this fails, cannot locate. We have to get it repaired and start restarting it. This makes the name node is the single point of failure for the entire cluster, right? So this vulnerability is resolved by implementing a secondary name node or standby name node. So this is the function of secondary name node. Secondary name node served as a primary backup solution in early Hadoop versions. Before early Hadoop versions, Hadoop 1.x version. See, the secondary name node every so often downloads the current FS image instance and edit logs from the name node and merges them. This mechanism already discussed the previous slides. See, the edited FS image can then be retrieved and restored in the primary name node. Okay. So these are all the different functions of name node and secondary name node. So data node also we have already discussed. See, data blocks are stored as raw files in the local file system. Data node means local computer. As I told you, it regularly talks to the master server, master name node, known as the name node. Master server means name node. It reports the health and status of the locally stored data. That means blocks. So data means here blocks, about the blocks. So here each data node, also known as a slave node that we have already discussed, runs a background process named data node. This background process also known as a daemon. I told you daemon is nothing but engine which can run something. Keeps track of the slices of data that the system stores on its computer. Slices means here blocks. So this is the deep understanding of data node. Now, whenever you are asked in interviews, what is a name node, what is a data node, what is a job tracker, what is a task tracker, I'm assuming that you are all in a position to explain at least a few words about these things. So while reading itself, you should question yourself. If somebody asks me, what is a job tracker? What points I should explain? Somebody asks me, what is the function of data node? What points I should explain? Take pen and paper and write down. Okay, so I think we will stop here. Okay. So now we have totally 3 videos. This Saturday, Sunday, try to play these 3 videos again and again. Don't be lazy in playing videos. You can play in your mobile also. You don't need to have always system because we still not yet started practicals. So we'll take off Saturday, Sunday. So we will again meet on Monday 8 AM. Okay. So before that, try to prepare all these concepts, basic concepts, so that practicals will be easy. Don't any confusion. If you don't prepare, you'll be having a lot of period before we start practicals or after starting practicals. You will get confused. So you will get confused. Any questions before I close? Leha, Monica?
No, sir.
Madhu?
No, sir.
Okay, very good.
Srini, this is regarding the laptop.
Yeah.
So my laptop got disturbed with the kind of Windows. Earlier
So
I
what
was
is the,
having.
okay, no issues. Naga, no issues. We will be doing in cloud only completely. What is the
Oh, is it?
configuration
Okay.
of your machine?
The latest one only, Srini. 1
Super.
TB and.
That is more than enough. So this
Okay.
time what we do, we don't do partition. I'll tell you the virtual machine concept. I'll explain that so that we can
Okay.
practice work there.
Oh, we don't need any Linux now. Then.
Right now we don't need to do partition. What we are going to do, we are going to install a virtual machine. There we will do Ubuntu.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
The remaining all other things we will practice in cloud itself. We have a Databricks. Yeah, we have Databricks cloud. They provide each and everything, so we can practice over. So you see actual data science and analytics whenever we are discussing Python, Scala, Spark.
Okay.
Kind of a database. That's a database in a real environment.
Excellent. Earlier we were struggling pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID that we have to make a partition. So that is
Partition,
actually that is required. That is the way you practice. For business. Okay, we also do practice in the cloud.
Yeah. So most of the companies now going with the cloud concept. It really
cloud
helps.
only. Yes.
Yeah, cloud. So
Most
really
people
helps.
are going cloud and add Databricks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great.
Okay. Okay, then. So we can wind up here. Thank you so much. We'll again meet on Monday. What I do, I will
Thank you,
create
sir.
a WhatsApp group.
WhatsApp groups. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll create that.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.